Hey! Just setting up. Always appreciate stopping by, doing the thing. Yeah. Today... Wait, let me triple check. I actually did the stream information correctly. Yeah, I did. Because it is software development. I try to cycle around to all the different things, the different categories of stream, if that makes sense. And it's that time. And we usually have a game we're working on, like the one down below. And we are working on a game, but... So we finished this one at the bottom, Small Towers. And we can go back to the other one we were working on all year, called Shuffle Wars. Well, I gotta change this command because it's a bit dated, actually. I mean, you can download a pre-alpha version, but anyway, we need to do art. So there's not a whole lot of software development to show on that one. There's very little design to show on that one, in fact, because we're just making the art that we know we need to do, and it's going to be a long slog. That's why we stopped and made Small Towers, and it's why we don't have something for today. If we were saying, well, let's do something with design, well, we just did a chat thingy thing. Just kind of that. And that's okay, but like now we have to do something that's like development. And if it's not art, which we will do for Shuffle Wars like next or soon or something, then what are we doing? Right? Well, I thought, hey, maybe this is one of those times where it's like we actually have the opportunity to talk about general game development stuff, working in an engine stuff. So I thought maybe this is one of those rare occasions where we could just look at a game engine. In this case, we're going to look at Unity. We could always look at Unreal. We could look at other game engines. They typically all have the same stuff, just called different tools and maybe different hotkeys. I mean, yeah, enough said. We're looking at Unity, and we're looking at C#, and that's what we did for Small Towers. It's what we're doing for Shuffle Wars. I don't have anything against Unreal. It's just, let me, full disclosure, I do have something against Unreal. It's a bear. It really is too much. And for the little games that we needed to do, it's just too much. It actually wouldn't work. It's not even geared well for 2D. It's just not. So, like Small Towers, it was just straight. That's just out. I'm not doing that. Blah, blah, blah. So we're in Unity, and we're looking at C#. So today, I mean, you can always find simple tutorials about how to get started. Hey, can we make a cube and do something with it, like move it around the 3D space, right? This is the camera, and, if your camera is here and your cube is here, this is what it looks like, right? Put up and down and blah, 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 right? Right up to the camera. Wow. 3D, right? But I'd rather not do just a beginning thingy thing. Let's talk about what happens when you're interested in doing something common in games, but a little more advanced. It's still very common. It's still going to be a basic thing you need to do. So let's talk about it. What I did was I just created in my project a folder and a script, and I'll rename the script because I didn't name it in the first place. But let's look at it this way. I may want to save data in my game. I may want to switch scenes in my game, going from level 1 to level 2, or like going from the main menu into the game and back to the main menu. Those are scene switching things typically, right? I may want to save data, switch scenes. These are things. I may want to quit the game. Let's try this. Let's try this quit, right? May want to quit the game. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a very common thing you might want to do when you're making your game is say, well, I want to, I'm working in the editor, but then I want to build. Okay, in Unity, as in Unreal, it's rather straightforward. You've worked on it in the editor, and then you build. Now it's called packaging in Unreal, but it's the same process, and it's basically a button press. You can set it up, and then build. And in Unity, the reason why they call it Unity, by the way, is because you build in one environment and then just select the output, right? Where is it going to go? In this case, it's going to compile to your desktop on your personal computer. Easy peasy. It's actually not hard. It's literally just click and then you go. But today, what we need to talk about is the fact that, like, oh yeah, we need to actually configure some things, otherwise it won't build. In fact, if you want to switch scenes, you need to configure things here as well. So I got here because I said File, and I said Build Settings. So if you're building, of course, you might want to look at the build settings and just click the button. But also, you're going to the build settings because you're saying, well, here I have this, let's not do the sample scene thing. I'm going to create a new scene, and I'll call it game. I'm going to create a new scene, and I'm going to call it menu. Okay. So, no big deal, but we will sort of move these around. Let's go into the menu. So, in fact, I'll just delete this. Who cares? It's there as a sample, but no one cares. So let's do that. I may want to switch scenes, and the reason why I bring this up is because we can do the script for switching scenes. Absolutely. Sure. And we can also save some data. So I may begin to organize a little bit further because some of these scripts represent things that we want to do in the game, rules we want to run. I may also want scripts that only hold data. In this case, I kind of want to save, I don't know, score or high score. Let's do high score. That sounds pretty good. In that case, though, I definitely want to organize my scripts because there's a bunch of scripts. Let's just say there's a bunch of scripts that I would like to have just for data and some for systems. Let's see. Now, that's possible, and we may also have some. This is a pattern that I do. This is not something I'm not going to say this is a standard because it's really just something I've developed. Tools would be things where you made a game object and you're going to say this is the I don't know, quit manager or something. It's just a game object sitting in the scene, but I'm going to call it the tool handling quit, and therefore this script goes here. So it's now a tool because this has a script on it, does something useful. So I'll call it a tool. And because of that, that's where this script goes. It's made to be a tool. Okay? And so probably all these, I'm not going to do a systems script today, but these would be scripts, but actually not brought in and placed on an object. They would be instead static functions that I could call just by calling the class of the script, and they would be available to any tool at any time. I don't need a tool in the scene to do it, but this is a very easy way to just put your scripts in the scene, of course. I am talking about basic stuff, aren't I? Okay, let's go more advanced. Switch scenes will also be a tool, enough said. I'm not going to do system scripts, but I would typically next to data. So in data now, let's go ahead and make something that is a script, but is really only meant to hold like game high score. Sure. I mean, game data might be fine, actually, right? And it could hold lots of different data, like how far did you get last time and do you want to continue and blah, 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 right? Well, in this case, let's change this because the default scripts for C# and Unity have a bunch of things brought in by default because they make the assumption, well, you're probably going to use these really basic things. Probably going to want your script to be derived from mono behavior. You're probably going to want it to inherit Unity Engine as well as these other things and all that stuff. And I say, well, no, actually. By taking this out, I'm saying it's not derived from mono behavior. It is not going to be a component. In other words, it's never going to be used on a tool. It's never going to be a tool. It's never going to be on a game object. And in fact, let's just get rid of all these because I'm not even going to use Unity Engine or anything. Like, I don't need any of this. I literally don't need any of it. Instead, I'm just going to say this is a raw class that holds data. Right? That's all this thing does. Okay. Well, if that's what's going on, make it a little bigger. That's what's going on, then this is actually much, much simpler. I'm only declaring variables and variable types. In this case, let's go ahead and call it, this is a structure of game data. Let's call it G data just for laughs. Actually, this is a variable type, so I'm going to go ahead and say G data like this. Okay. This struct now is able to, of course, declare different kinds of data. In this case, I don't know, high score? Sure. Now, we could do more things. We could absolutely add onto this lots of different data types and go for it, right? Just absolutely. In fact, who got the high score? Sure. Leader, right? Score leader, sure. Fine. So in this case, it's just a couple of pieces of data. They are different. That's the beauty of a struct. And done. I mean, literally done. I don't need to do anything else. I'm only defining the data that our game could hold. It's the kind of data that we need in our game, and that's it. So that's all. That's all I need. Now, another tool, therefore, could be something like a manager of the game. I'll call it game manager tool just to keep it from switching this icon. But, and I need to actually not do this. Okay. Cool. So that we could have a game manager object with that script on it. Hey, why are all these in the wrong place? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Cool. So just like our game, you know what? Our game manager might just have this same script on there. Oh, brother, I didn't actually rename this class. This is called Quit on Escape. Let's organize our stuff, shall we? Okay, what I wanted to talk about were the 3 common things you definitely want to do in a game. One of them is, hey, sometimes I build the game, and that's great. When you build the game, I come here and I say, cool, file, build, and I build setting, I just go build, right? And that's cool. And then you're playing it, and then what? Like, you want to quit? How are you going to quit? Actually, what you need to do is then kill the process. You kill the game in the task manager. That's really ugly. Ugh. So typically, one of the first things you want to do is just get something simple like yeah, I don't need void. Thank you very much. It's implied. Just some. Let's just go super basic because I do not care. Key is first key press while user. Okay. In this case, I'm just gonna hard code the quit, as escape. Okay, and this is not rocket science. This is pretty standard, right? Hey, if the user does press key down, then we can do something. In this case, I'm going to access the class called application because it happens to have a handy function called quit, and as you might have guessed, it quits the player application. In other words, done. This script now will handle what we want. I'm here in the menu. I could invoke this tool, the function in this tool on update just by hitting escape done. I mean, it's that easy. I could also make it a button. I could also do it on start and say, you know, when this is active or whatever it is, right? And it could happen a number of different ways. Who cares? But quitting, hey, you know, if you wanted to know how to do that, here's a thing. It's not hard. If you just Googled, you'd find this really quick. Google Unity script, blah, 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 and you'll find all the good stuff that comes straight from Unity's own documentation. So, okay, that's one of three things figured out, like the most common stuff, right? Let's go ahead and make sure we can quit the application. Our game manager is going to handle different things about our game. We're not making the game today. We're actually talking about all the things around the game. So you could concentrate on whatever your game is, but let's pretend you have a game manager tool and it's going to do lots of different things. You're declaring your variables and blah, blah, blah. You are, of course, validating input, and then you're going to initialize. This should look familiar if you've been watching me do any of my stuff. And so among those variables, you might say, well, one of them, this game manager tool will have gdata as one of the variable types. And to begin with, when somebody begins the game here in the menu scene, we will have this data initialized. Just make it, right? It'll be blank, but, you know, so be it. And we can go from there, right? Because you just started the game up, it makes sense the game data is blank. You know, the job of filling that with some actual data, like what is the high score and who got it, that's, you know, that can happen. But this can start here in the menu scene. Cool. Let's just run it, make sure there's no errors, right? Okay, so we're running. Cool. I mean, we haven't, again, we're not making the game. We're actually making all the pieces around the game. What we have is a way now, though, to access this tool, a public variable on this tool is called gdata. Okay? And we could even say maybe on quit, we'll do something with that. Maybe we can go access this tool and print out, you know, who got the high score or something, right? Okay. Again, I'm going to go all the way down to like the basic stuff, and I shouldn't do that. But my point was, this data could just be a script, and it can be on a tool. There's a trick now, though, because what happens when I go from the menu scene to the game scene, right? If I just switch the scenes here, look at that. All the stuff is gone. What happened? Well, the way scenes are loaded is literally everything in the current scene is unloaded, and then everything in the new scene is loaded. Sounds pretty straightforward. So if I've saved my menu scene, I can go back and forth and I will find the stuff that's in the menu, but, you know, Game Manager is gone in the game scene. It's not there, right? And you're saying, well, no big deal. I'll put Game Manager tool in here too, right? And no. Here's why. We have data that we want to save on this game manager. So we actually want to save this. Let's say you're starting the game and then you go, like you're in the menu, and then you go into the game and you're playing and you don't get the high score and you come back to the menu. Okay. You go into the game again, try again, and you get the high score. Great. Now you come back out to the menu. Well, you've just switched scenes a few times. Where is this data? Right? It can't record the score you got unless the game manager's there. And if you're coming back out to the menu multiple times, where does that data go if all the game objects are gone, right? This is a common problem. And there's actually more than one way to do like lots of things in games. If you Google like how do I save my data, you'll find, oh well, there's this thing called player prefs, or there's these save slots in Unreal and blah blah blah. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but what I'm showing you is, and you could always save it to disk. There's different things you could do, absolutely. But what I'm showing you is, hey, if you're familiar with just tools like this, putting scripts on game objects, you can also do it here, and it's not really that hard. This is probably as hard as we're going to get. The idea that we're not making a normal class, but just a data class, pure data. That's probably the weirdest thing that we're doing today. So here's your game manager tool, and it's the script component on the game object, but this entire game object is going to be deleted on when you switch scenes. Oh no, right? Well, first, actually, let's switch the scenes, because that's a good one too. Here we are going to switch the scenes. You could definitely Google this, Unity script switch scenes, and you would find that there is something called, it's in the Unity engine, and it's under a namespace called scene management. There is a class in there called scene manager, and inside that there's a function called load scene. So it's a long way around. Oh my goodness, what's all this? Well, it's a namespace, and actually, you know what? It's not a big deal to just add that to your namespace thing here. It's the same thing. Same thing. So now we have Scene Manager available because we've added the scene management namespace up here. And so now, cool. Well, what can we do with this? It's not hard. It's just, how about list the scene? Yeah. Game. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do it on start. That would be a bit silly. But we might say, give me the name of the scene. Not rocket science. And what the heck? Why don't I do the pattern I typically do? Which is, if I'm testing something, I typically want to try this out. This is a specific tool. It'll sit on a game object, and you'll enter the scene name, but it's going to sit there waiting for someone to publicly access this little checkbox, this Boolean variable, and say true. As soon as it does, well, it'll happen. So how do I make that happen? Easy. I go, boom. Now I may also need to validate and initialize and blah, blah, blah. I'm skipping all that today. I'm going to skip all of the normal things that I should be doing. Validation, initialize. But notice that I commented it anyway, just because it's a pattern I will always do. Switch now. Visual Studio knows what I'm doing. If switch now, then do this. Yes, it's exactly what I want. Absolutely. And so, we could just as easily say and make this false and blah, blah, blah. But this is a very simple tool. Like, hold the name of the scene you want to switch to and go. As long as this exists in the build settings. Watch what happens if I do this. And make this tool. Switch scenes. Switch scene. And throw the tool on there. I will configure it to say game. Okay? It's configured, right? And we already coded it, right? So this should happen, right? Check. I'll play. And go. And it says, no, big old wrong error. What's going on? Well, every frame it's trying to do this. Game couldn't be loaded because it has not been added to the asset bundle, has not been loaded to the build settings, go to file, build settings. This file, build settings. Yes. So this is why I brought this up earlier. Yeah, you could build. And that's a common thing you want to do. You want to see your game. You can just deliver it to somebody as a normal application. It's cool. Looks like it's a professional thing. It's cool. But you need to add the scenes that are supposed to be in the build. And the reason is you could have lots of scenes that are just tests, prototype scenes. And those you don't want in the build. This also can be ordered roughly in the way that you expect the player to encounter them, like level 1, then level 2, etc. In this case, you need them in here. And now we could build, but we don't need to build. But we do need it if we're going to actually switch scenes. So here we're in the menu, and boom. And now we're in the game scene. There's nothing here. But, and I've hit stop, I come back to the menu because that's where we were working. So while we're running, we can do this. This, again, because I called in this namespace, I have access to the scene manager, and it's just a function call. Hey, that scene called game that is in the build settings, yeah, go there. Likewise, we could do the same thing in a copy in the game, paste, and I'll just switch this to say menu. Easy peasy. So, I mean, really, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. You could, of course, have this code in a different script, done a different way, but I'm just making tools. It's just easy. Your whatever game could access this scene switch and just go boop. That's all it needs to do. Okay, so now, yeah, we're in menu. We say, press a key to start or whatever it is, and that key or the button just does this. And so now we're in the game, and you finish the game, and you get to the end of the game, and then you do this, and you're back at menu. Did I actually configure that? No, I did not. Menu. Oh. Because the code actually needs to use the name. Yeah. So I had to hard-coded the string here, but if I do it this way, now I'm using the actual variable we had. Okay, so let's try it again. See, this is why we test. So I'm in the game now. Okay, I'm in the game and I switch scenes. Okay, now I'm in menu. And I go from scene to menu. From game to menu to game to menu. Hey, cool, I can replay my game. Cool, yeah? It's a common thing you want to do. You definitely needed to put it in the build settings, but then, yeah, it's actually just a line of code with an extra little namespace call. So, hey, we could quit our application once we build it. We can switch scenes while we're in the game. Fantastico. What else is there? Well, there is this data, okay, in the game. Let's say we're in the game scene and we're actually doing something. We need to check to see what the high score is. And if our current score is like bigger than this, then we want to say this is now the high score and whoever's playing is the score leader. Okay, we want to say all those things. We're going to have all that recorded. But wait, I'm here in the game scene. The game manager was in the menu scene. Oh no, what do we do? Okay, this is where I need to talk about two other concepts. One, we're switching scenes, we're saving data, we're quitting the application. What more could there be? Well, because we want this tool to hang around. Remember I said we're going to switch scenes, and as we do, all these things are going away. The quit manager goes away. In fact, we kind of probably want that back. The switch scene is going to go away. There's going to be another one in the game scene, but this game manager thing goes away. So when we do this, boom, it reloads a scene after unloading everything that was in the menu. So what are we going to do? Well, here we are back at menu. I want to keep this one around. I actually don't want to delete this one. Don't delete on load. Don't destroy on load. That's actually the name of the function we're going to use. It's not rocket science. It's so common. As long as this thing is ready to go, I'm going to use my same pattern. Then yeah, don't destroy on load. And I mean my entire game object. The game object this script is on, don't destroy it, please. What this means is, on start, as long as everything's okay, I'm setting it to be don't destroy. It's a class of game objects that will appear in the hierarchy. Let me show you. So now, when I hit play, start will be called, and suddenly this will look different. It's not just items in the scene called menu. There's now an extra category called don't destroy on load. These are reserved. They're not going to be destroyed. Let me prove it. Here's switch scene. I'm going to go to the game scene, and boom. I'm in the game scene. This is the same game manager. It has not been destroyed. And so now we actually could access the data and say, hey, did you get the high score? If you did, cool, let's record it. And the game data is now being updated. It's the same data. Isn't that so nice? Everything's awesome, right? Don't destroy on load. It was so easy. We're all done, right? Right? You see me leading you to a cliff? No, we're not done, because check it out. Now I'm going to go back to the menu because we're done with the game. We got the high score. Right on. Here's the problem. We're going to unload everything in this scene except the things don't destroy. And we're going to go back to the menu. But the menu scene already has a game manager. So check out what happens. Yeah. Now we got 2. And if we did this over and over, we would keep accumulating new game managers. Whoops. Yeah, that's not good. Actually, that's terrible. Because one of these says it's a brand new game. The other ones have been added to or something. It's confusing. In fact, the game doesn't know who to talk to say, hold on, what's the high score? They have no idea. So this is a problem. And what it brings up is the idea that you really only want one game manager at any given time. Even if you're loading in a new scene and it's already got one. What do? You really only want one. You want a single game manager. So, talking about saving data, switching scenes, and building these common things that you want to do leads us directly to a more advanced topic. There's a pattern of code, a way of thinking about it, where you say, I only want one. I just want one single game manager. And the pattern is called a singleton. A singleton pattern says, identify something that you only want one single instance of, no matter what. No matter what means, if there is another one, you got to handle it. You got to do something about it. If there's an other, delete it. So, if I'm here in the menu and I say play, well, there's only one. Cool. We're good. No big deal. Everything's fine. If we switch to the game scene, there's still only one. We're fine. We're good. Now we go back to the main menu because the game is done and we're going to do another round. We're going to replay. And here, now there's 2. Somehow I need to identify the original one. I don't know which one it is, actually. In the object pool, you can never be certain exactly which one is first. And you don't want to guess, really. You want to identify one as a singleton first, and then any others that show up, those are the ones you want to delete. So right here is the problem, and we need to be able to say one of these is wrong and should go bye-bye. That's what we want to do. How do we get our code to do that? How do we know that, right? Well, in the same way, our quit on escape script might want to say, hey, game manager, can you talk to me and tell me what the high score is before we quit. Yeah, you could totally do that. You can say, hey, game object, the class, can you go find object of type? I think of type, by type, I forget. And we want the game manager tool. Yeah, it would. Hey, go find that one. In fact, we could make a variable of it right here, but I could just access it from here and say, yeah, go get gdata and tell me what the high score is. I want to print that. I'll just make it one very long line of code because I'm just going to print this, really. I'll say high score is, and then do the high score. And then I will say by so-and-so, right? And I'll just use the same thing. Now, this is really clunky stuff. I would, as soon as I used it twice, I would actually just grab this as a variable, but then you can access who the score leader was and done. Okay. So it's meant to go use the find object by type, right? And that's cool. But first of all, we better make sure there's only one. But also, this is a way that we can go look at other things because there's more than just this function of find object by type. We could find all the objects by type. Let's do that. Here's this game manager tool. It's going to hold the data and all this stuff, but it should also make sure, that there is no other object, right? In fact, by the time we say don't destroy on load, we should be absolutely certain this is the only one in the scene, right? If this tool has started, it's because it's in the menu and we've hit play. It's not because it's in the game scene or back in the main menu. The thing is already started. So this is the first run of this tool, and we should say set to be our singleton, right? By don't destroy on load, right? But this pattern requires we do more than this because, like I said, we need to delete any others that we find. So let's go find how many others there might be in the scene, and when we come back to the main menu, there will, excuse me, there will be another. The testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Hold on. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Okay. Hey, let's pretend that never happened, right? Everything's fine. I'm not technically challenged. Okay, so the point is, where the heck was I? We are going to go forward. There we go. We're going to go forward with this pattern. The idea is this game manager tool's holding the data, but when we come back to the menu scene again, there's going to be two. And so here in start, this second one, the one that shouldn't be there because we already have one, needs to start and detect that it is not the right one. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to make an extra variable that says this is singleton. Now, I've done this pattern different ways. This is new. I haven't done this before. This is different. But I'm making it explicit. Like, we can find out that this is the only one, right? And it's a little redundant because we're actually using enabled to initialize already, but I'm going to do this anyway. The point is I'm making it explicit that we can set this to be true if and only if there is no other game manager tool in the scene when we hit start. This tool starts in the menu scene. If there's nothing else there, then you're fine. If there is something else there, then you're not there when the game started. You're there when we came back to the main menu. So we're going to say, hey, game object class, can you go find all the objects by type? Right? Game manager tool. Is this the right one? Yeah. Objects, plural. And what we're returning is an array of game manager tools, right? So let's make a private variable of that type. This is game manager tool, and it's an array, a dynamic array with these little square brackets, says a series of them, right? And it doesn't matter. We're just going to look at this real quick. A series of game manager tools. Cool. And this line of code. So we're immediately asking, hey, how many of these are there? And can you go give me the array of them, right? So I have them all, right? Cool. Because, first of all, if there is only one, we know that. We can say, if the length of this array is 1, right, then we are the one. We can cleanly say for sure this is the singleton. Okay? But if not, right, then we can do a little more because I can't think of a reason why there would be more than 2. But let's just go through it, right? Let's just be explicit about it. For each of these, and I could actually use a for each loop, that's fine. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, go look at each of these. Right? Go through each of the game manager tools that we have in this array. And each one, I'm going to look at this one and say, is this a singleton? Right? And if it is, then we ignore it. Right? But if it is not, right? If this is false, if this is singleton is still false because it is like the second one, right? Or more, I guess. Then let's just get rid of it. Right? We don't want it. Let's destroy it. Very explicitly, right? In this way, we will call this, and we should also break because we shouldn't be iterating through things that, I guess it's safe. We're only destroying the game object, but still. This says, maybe we don't break. Is this safe to do within this array? I mean, this iteration. It should be okay. Yeah, we're not actually changing the array. That's probably safe. Get rid of them all. It's fine. That's fine. So here we go. What we're doing is we're saying, I am not sure why Visual Studio is graying out when everything's fine and highlighting when it's not done yet. It's so weird to me. There was an update to the Visual Studio very recently, and it started doing this, and I haven't quite figured out why. I thought another update that happened recently fixed it, but evidently not. Okay, so the singleton pattern requires we go and find any other, right? If this is the only one, this is the singleton, we're done. But if not, we need to get rid of the other. If it's not the singleton, not, right? Not singleton, then get rid of it. This should, let's test, but this should make sure that the second one that comes in recognizes, oh, I'm not the singleton, I'm out, and deletes itself, basically. It actually should be deleting itself. We could just say delete game object. But this is also, I mean, yeah, this is actually saying delete all of them it could find. This is probably overkill. But let's test it, right? The whole point is we could guess what it's going to do all day, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what happens when we test. Let's just see if it still works. So here's the game manager tool, and it knows it's the singleton. Check it out. It has looked for any others of this type, and it said, nope, I'm the only one. Cool. Switch scene, we'll go to the game, play the game, da-da-da-da-da-da. This is still the singleton, yeah? And now when we switch back to the menu, this is going to happen almost instantly. There's just one. And in fact, this is the singleton. So it's still the same one, and the new one went bye-bye instantly. This pattern, the singleton pattern, ensures that there's only one at any given time, which means the data we want to save on this thing, this data, is now cool. It's very cool. Let's pretend, for example, that we added some score on this thing. We could even, tick up the time that we're in the game, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we can do all that because now this is the one instance of the game manager that holds the data. So you could hold the stats of the character from level to level. You could hold the high scores we're doing here, or individual slots of data for different character saves or something. I mean, just go crazy, because this is just a series of variables that you define yourself. So this could be anything. This could be a whole lot of things if you want. And all we're doing is saying, we'll make a brand new one, and then from then on, it is going to be played on, because we never destroy it, even if we switch scenes. So this uses a singleton pattern so that we can maintain the data no matter what we do. This is a super common thing you want to do in games. Hey, I want to make my game. I mean, notice we did absolutely nothing in this, right? There's no game. But there is, in fact, the menu doesn't look like anything. There is the code to say, if we build, right? If we build this, these two scenes can be switched. It knows to include those in the build. So we can switch scenes. We can also quit. If we hit escape, we'll do that application quit. The game manager holds a variable of this struct and can hold the high score and the score leader. It also makes sure to know that even if we come back to this main menu, there will be only one, and we can switch scenes. In fact, notice we are reusing this tool. That's a smart thing to do. I made a tool once, made it reusable, yeah? This way, we can just concentrate on the game. This is very common stuff games need, but it has nothing to do with the game. We did no game, right? We did absolutely nothing with the game today. But if you were making a game and you're like, yeah, I want to build it and show people, like, you'd run into exactly these problems. It's very common. And so now, yeah, you got your way of doing this. This game manager can be accessed exactly the same way the game manager looks for other instances of itself, exactly the same way the quit on escape looks for this itself. Actually, let's do that. Can I switch scenes? Right? And then quit? Yeah. So the high score is 0 by so-and-so, right? This is the, we know the quit on escape tool was able to talk to the game manager and say this. Otherwise, we would have had an error from Unity saying, I can't access that. I don't know where it is. There's nothing there. Instead, it was able to access this. It was able to do this. So I hit escape to get this. It didn't actually escape because we're in the editor, not a build. But it would have quit the build very cleanly and easily, as if you said exit from here, right? Quit. So, okay, enough said. I did some code. It's a little bit more than your basic stuff because along with tools, we also have just a data object. We have ways to switch scenes, quit the application, and we even did a singleton pattern. Yeah, pretty cool. Not bad. It's okay. It's all right. All right. Hey, we only hiccuped our stream once. What's going on, bots? How are the stats? Of course, this code that runs this game has lots of tools that talk to each other the same way that we just described. And yes, I also quit on escape for this one as well. Just checking the stats because doing the long testing for this. All right. Yeah, I'll call that a software development stream. Not very long. It doesn't have to be long. I'm not lazy. So the point is, this cartoon ape hanging out in a jungle, making games. We play games too, but, to be fair, I play the games I'm making more often than I'm playing other games. It's just the way it is. And if you're interested in making games, if you're interested in the process of game design or the process of game development in different ways, game development is design, but it's also art, it's also code. Today we looked at code. If you're interested in these things, then follow. Like, subscribe, retweet, whatever you need to do. We're actually not on Twitter, but we are on Blue Sky. Check it out. We're on Discord. And, YouTube. And you can show up on stream, and when you do, you can use Command Tie. Command Tie lets me know you are here. Then I pay attention to you instead of rambling as much. I will still ramble, sorry. But less rambling, let's just say. And so, oh, by the way, we are going to do more art. We're going to do more variety gaming. I suppose I should do a little more Valorant at some point. Yeah. We finished BioShock, and we just showed off the first 20 minutes of a gameplay video of Half-Life 1, because we're going to play Half-Life 2. And to give it some context, played video of Half-Life 1 and talked a bit about design. You see how I slipped that in there? Yeah, sneaky. So come on by. You can talk about design with us. If you're interested in a process that leads toward doing things, creating things from nothing and improving them, that's what design is. And we'll make some games. Until then, have fun, do well, be good, stay safe, See ya.